Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. All right, another week. Another week, but we got to entertain the possibility that the Eagles are good. So are we on board with this? Are we cool with this idea that the Eagles are good? Are we there? Are we really comfortable with that one? I mean, the Eagles right now, it looks like they say they got an 88% chance of winning the division according to the numbers. But go ahead and tell them, Shannon. Giants going to get them, right? Hello? Shannon?
Just right from the start, huh?
I was just asking, man. I mean, the numbers are trying to say your team ain't got no chance, and I was going to give you a chance to, what is this? Strive for great at 8-8?
Oh, that was a couple weeks ago, Bo. We're on to different things now.
But they won a game since then. Their record is better than it was when you said that. You're not hearing it? No? Okay. Eagles right now definitely look to be the best team in their division. They now have a sweep over Washington, who you can make an argument looks like the second best team in that division, and it sure looks like the Eagles have a quarterback. I am now like pretty reticent and gun-shy about proclaiming quarterbacks to be anything because I've seen too many guys look good as first, second, and third-year players only to be out of the league not too long after to be out there modeling them baseball caps, right? That being said, with Wentz, who I have not been as impressed with up until now as most people. I have seen what people see about him. Like, that's always been for me the thing that I could say is I see why people went gaga over this dude. He absolutely looks the part. But, I mean, it looks the part in like a good way, right? He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, and I've seen him make dynamic plays, right? Like, it's not just simply he gets off the bus and you're like, ooh, first-round pick. He has a level of talent that I think is spectacular. Like, we're not talking about Blaine Gabbert here, for example, on simply looking the part. He's got it, man, and the Eagles, when they made that trade to get him, I was like, I don't know, because you remember everybody was telling us that none of these quarterbacks are going to be ready to play day one, that Wentz was this long-term project and everything else. I don't know what happened in between when people said that and right now, but the project doesn't look long-term. Like, it's not to say that he doesn't have room to improve, but this doesn't look like one of those things where it's like, okay, let's see what happens. This dude looks like the truth. He did that thing where he like a burro or a prairie dog or something like that. Or burro is a donkey. You know what I mean, though? It's like he burrowed under the ground and then popped up. You saw that play. I thought it was Frank Gore. Remember Frank Gore used to go in there low, and the next thing you know, like, dang, how Frank Gore come out the pile? This dude's a 6'5" quarterback, and he's doing that in the pocket. Like, they've got, at the very least, one thing they don't have to answer for in a draft for a very long time, which is, what are we going to do about a quarterback? Meanwhile, Cleveland's going to be forced to answer all these questions, and I feel like the only place where Cleveland has to answer to me is not that you made the decision that you didn't want to take Wentz. I can see that. If you thought it was better to get the picks and wait for another quarterback to come around, I can see how you maybe decided to do that. But, Shannon, the Browns apparently didn't think that Wentz would ever be a top 20 quarterback in the league, and I'm trying to figure out what league it is they've been watching.
It's funny. I was just about to ask you that. Like, who feels worse today in regards to Wentz, the Rams or the Browns?
See, I don't think the Rams feel bad because the Rams, all right, it's not exactly the same, right? But I grew up in Houston. I never once in my life ever heard anybody complain because the Rockets did not take Michael Jordan, because they took Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, we're talking about two all-time greats, certainly, but Olajuwon and Jordan are players of similar tier. Right? I think that Jared Goff, especially this year since he has improved greatly from what we saw the year before, Jared Goff has demonstrated himself to be good enough that you're not worried about what you didn't get. Like, that's my thing with the Browns, is that if the Browns wind up getting a quarterback, it's not going to be about what they did not get or who they did not select. But as they don't seem to have a quarterback right now, then, yeah, right now it is going to be about who they did not select. For the Eagles, they're like, y'all can worry about all that all you want. Not only did we get a guy who looks good, we got a guy that's got the home folks excited. And having the home folks excited is a big enough deal as is. Like, as long as they got Wentz, let's say the Eagles, like, drag this season out and they don't play well at the end. Like, it falls apart this year like it fell apart last year, right? Like, let's say that sort of thing happens. Man, people are much more able to find that silver lining when it's like, hey, man, at least we have a quarterback. And at the very least, they do have a quarterback. Now, could something change? Could this become a drastically different situation for him? I suppose that sort of thing is possible. But I don't feel like I'm looking at Wentz and I'm saying, I'm just waiting for the wheels to fall off. No, I'm looking at Wentz like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I think that this could wind up going very, very well. Now, what's interesting about this, do the Eagles have the best quarterback in the NFC East? Because I feel like it's coming down to him and Prescott. Am I being unfair in this one, Shannon? Somebody gonna say I'm hating on Kirk Cousins for saying that?
I'm sure Washington fans will say that, but right now, even though my quarterback's in that division, I would have to agree with you. Right now, it's between Wentz and Prescott.
Yeah, the question with your quarterback right now is if he's the worst quarterback in the division, if you want to be real about it. And
we're discussing best right now. We're not focused on worst.
And just to be clear, but see, this all ties together. Shannon, I am not sure if Eli is the worst quarterback in your division because if we put Kirk Cousins on the Giants and put Eli Manning on Washington, what are the end results, right? Because, I mean, to be fair to old Eli out here taking these blows for no reason. Shannon, I was walking in today. I heard on the radio the local guys were talking about apparently Jerry Reese has said that maybe Davis Webb will get some reps. And how disrespectful would that be to Eli that he's been out here taking all these blows and they talking about bringing in Davis Webb just to see what they got. And Eli's got to be like, look, ain't never going to be a day where Davis Webb is going to be better than me. But if you switch the teams, I don't know if the results change. With Wentz, I don't really know how much of this change in team stuff matters. And am I falling for looks apart? Like, is it possible that I'm falling for looks apart? Because I don't think I'm falling for looks apart as much as, yo, did you see that throw? Because he makes big-time throws. So, like, even before Joe Flacco got terrible, the thing that I would always be able to hold on to for the Ravens when it came to Flacco was Flacco could make big-time throws. Like, when they won that Super Bowl, a lot of that came down to these third and longs because they were running on the first two downs and then come to third down and be like, okay, Joe, we need you to make a big-time throw. And he could make big-time throws. Wentz has got that. He can make big-time throws. He can buy the time to make big-time throws. And he's got guys to throw to, but their receiving core isn't great. Like, Alshon Jeffrey is good, but Alshon Jeffrey wasn't good enough for the Bears to decide they were going to keep him. Nelson Aguilar, we was about to run him out of the league as of last year. Torrey Smith, I mean, we were just talking about that with the 49ers, how Torrey Smith wasn't enough to be your number one receiver. Jeremy Curley was the number one receiver last year for that team. Like, we have to give a lot of the credit to the quarterback in this case. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2017, where as of this moment, I don't like that through 7-week MVP thing because it doesn't matter what's going on through 7 weeks. However, if there were a 7-week MVP, it's a battle between Alex Smith and Carson Wentz. Who's betting on that one, buddy? Who's betting on that one? Only thing I got to say about Carson Wentz that gets on my nerves is I wish that Carson Wentz was from a place that more football players were from, because then I won't have to hear about North Damn Dakota every time he plays. Like, at the very least, if we're going to harp on this North Dakota thing with him, can you at least give me some fun facts about North Dakota? Can I learn some things about North Dakota? Can you treat North Dakota like you treat one of them countries you ain't never heard of during the Parade of Nations in the Olympics? Like, teach me something. Apparently, I don't know if you heard that John Gruden was like, Carson Wentz is North Dakota tough. What the hell does that mean? Like, you want to show me North Dakota tough, holler back at me during the winter. Right? Like, that's when I imagine that North Dakota tough thing really comes in handy. On the other hand, I've got no argument as to how no explanation as to how it is North Dakota makes you tougher than being from anywhere else. Shannon, who do you think's tougher? Carson Wentz from North Dakota or Patrick Beverly from K-Town in Chicago?
Yeah, Patrick Beverly's a special kind of tough.
I'm just saying, how about this? That's what we need to do. We need to do a documentary where we go find the North Dakota hood. I assure you it exists, right? And I'm not just simply like, yeah, no, I ain't going to say that because I don't want to be misunderstood. But, like, I want to see, like, the North Dakota toughness notion. People from cold weather places always assume they're so much tougher than they actually are just because they handle the cold, right? Now, that being said, I do remember watching that playoff game. Do you see that day the Vikings were playing in the playoffs and Bud Grant was on the sideline with a T-shirt, with a polo shirt? And no jacket? Now, that is tough. Like, I will give them that. Like, those cold weather people, they're tough when it comes to cold weather. But you ain't going to tell me about how tough Carson Wentz is right now. Come on, man. Still breezy outside. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, there's two ways to look at what we're going to say next. We could ask if you think that the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, or we can make it with the real question is, are the Eagles just coming one step closer to setting their fans up for terrible, disappointing heartbreak? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. And, hey, Tom Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So we're talking about the Eagles. We're trying to figure out, we like to do these poll questions. What's it called? Engagement. That's what we're about here, the engagement. And so we had to give you a poll question, a little different than the poll question you're expecting. It's a poll question about poll questions because you couldn't decide what would be a better poll question. Who is the best quarterback in the AFC East or who is the worst quarterback in the AFC East? So we're going to ask you, what is a better poll question? Who is the best quarterback in the, NFC East, and who is the worst quarterback in the NFC East? Because I feel like the AFC East, the best quarterback answer is pretty clear, as is the worst, although he got hurt. 888-729-3776, that is our telephone number. All right, guys, let's start to deal with this. The Philadelphia Eagles are 6-1. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best point differential in the NFL. Are the Philadelphia Eagles the best team in the NFL? Are we collectively prepared to entertain the possibility that the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFL? And, I mean, maybe? Maybe? Is that the way that we want to go with this? Is a maybe on this from the Eagles? Now, I feel like actually there are two ways to ask this question. We could ask, through the first 7 weeks, were the Eagles the best team in the NFL? I would say that the answer to that would be yes, right? Through the first 7 weeks, yes, I would say they were the best team in the NFL. Let me get you some of these fancy numbers. People like those. Let me get you some of these fancier numbers here. All right, Eagles top 10, net yards per passing attempt and rushing attempt. The defense, actually, they talk about the run defense being the best in the league. Sort of. They don't have teams try to run the ball against them very much. But they're 11th in yards allowed per rushing attempt. They're 16th in yards allowed per passing attempt. And they out here forcing turnovers. Like, it's there. The only thing is, Jason Peter just got hurt at left tackle. It looks as though he will be out for the season. That's a game changer. Jordan Hicks got hurt at linebacker, although, I mean, it was about that time, right? The annual Jordan Hicks season-ending injury, like we were coming up on that time. I'm not terribly surprised that this has happened. Jordan Hicks went to Texas, and I feel like Shanny got a lot of Fozzie in him. Remember I tell you that about Fozzie Whitaker?
You knew what's coming. It's just a matter of time. You don't wish any ill will on anyone.
Right.
You're just saying he was due.
Crazy thing is I looked up Fozzie Whitaker. Apparently he's played like 14 games, way more than I had given him credit for. Like he really had. But at the same time, I feel like he gets hurt all the time. Anyway, last year when Lane Johnson got hurt, the Eagles' fortunes turned in quickly. I believe they were 5-1, or suspended rather. I believe they were 5-1 before Lane Johnson got suspended, and then they were 2-8 after that happened. Like, they have a perhaps Hall of Fame caliber left tackle. Remember, they drafted Lane Johnson. Ain't nobody draft Lane Johnson to play right tackle. Jason Peter just refuses to get up off that job, right? He's there. He's been good. Now he's out. The Eagles coaches apparently were talking about how, what a good job that Lane Johnson has done at right tackle. So it sounds like they're going to bring in the backup swing tackle and have him play left tackle. And that didn't sound like the way you want to play this. That's a big deal, right? Like, that is a big change. So, are the Eagles going to be the best team in the league as we go forward? Like, think about how many teams' fortunes have just completely changed since different points that we wanted to anoint them as various things. I mean, the Packers are an obvious example, right? Because Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. Now everything is thrown off. Everything goes haywire. I don't know what to make of the Raiders because your man, Derek Carr, Shannon, if they say a broken back takes between 2 and 6 weeks to come back and play with, and you come back after 2 weeks, I feel like your back's still broke.
All right, I don't know about him, but I would need a backiotomy. I just can't do it.
Like, is that, I mean, like, I can't think of what I would do with a broken back. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't, like, I'm not coming to this job with a broken back. I'm out 4 to 6 weeks. Right there. I am out 4 to 6 weeks. There's no chance I'm playing this any other way. But the Eagles, they are in a situation where they've got this great record, but when you look at it, do you have anything that you truly point to that you would say that the Eagles are great at doing? What they have is an exciting quarterback, and there's no shame in that, obviously. But is there anything that you think that they are great at doing? Also, by the way, has anybody done the math on, like, there's a lot of close games in this one for the Eagles, right? Like, they lost that game to the Chiefs. Okay. They beat your New York Giants by 3 points, Shannon. Is that anything to be proud of?
Going.
They beat the Chargers by 2 points. Shannon, is that anything to be proud of?
Oh, wow, because that's another team that beat the Giants?
Actually, it was just the next team on the schedule. But now that you brought it up, is that anything to be proud of? Well, I guess you'd be proud of beating the Chargers by 2 points, right?
Any win I can get at this point.
Okay, there we go. They beat the Panthers by 5. This game against Washington, they won by 10. Like, it's not like they're marching through the league. They do have the highest point differential in the league, but it's not like they're marching through the league. Like, we get caught up in small sample theater in a fairly unique way with the NFL because all we have is small samples. There's nothing else for you to work with other than small samples with the NFL. And, by the way, I love this one. Every year we ask if you are the best team in the league in Week 7 as if that matters, right? Like, I just dismissed the whole notion of the Week 7 MVP a couple minutes ago, right? As if the Week 7 best team in the league matters. Again, were the Eagles not last season clocking in at 5-1? Did it not all fall apart after that? So, yeah, anything might happen here. There is no real telling what the end game is going to be for the Eagles. But I will say they have absolutely exceeded expectations. The other thing, though, about the Eagles, and it didn't come up nearly as much in this game as it did in the Panthers game. Now, granted, they won. But that is a Jim Schwartz defense, and a Jim Schwartz defense is going to give the other team a lot of yards with penalties. Though, to be fair, the Doug Peterson offense was doing the same. Shannon, were you watching that where they had like 4 penalties in a row, like on the first down?
Like, it made absolutely no sense. You were wondering what these guys are out here doing.
Yeah, it was like holding. Then they had 12 men in the huddle, and LeGarrette Blount was arguing about it. I'm like, homie, if you ain't count, man, you need to fall back. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Hit the phone, talk to Nathan from Montana. Nathan, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, what's up?
Doing all right? Doing all right, man.
Hey, so I just wanted to touch on North Dakota strong. I think what they're talking about, not necessarily cold weather, but we're talking about, like, throwing hay bales, working on the ranches, working on the farms. That's what they're talking about, right,
Yeah.
wrong, or indifferent.
I think, but let me
That's
ask you
what
this.
they're
Let me ask you about that, though. Is everybody in North Dakota, I mean, I don't remember what Carson Wentz did, but is everybody in North Dakota doing that? I know a whole lot of people, like, working, like, the power, like, nuclear stuff up there.
No, I'm not saying that. I was actually in the Navy SEALs, and, we get people from different walks of life. It don't matter how tough you are, how strong you are. But, that I think that's what they refer to.
No, I'm with you, man. I appreciate the call. All right, 888-729-3776. Oh, we got Nick from Indiana. Nick, you had a broken back one time.
Hey, Bo, you hear me?
Yeah, man, you had a broken back once.
Yeah, so it was actually a severed spinal cord.
Whoa!
Paralyzed for about a year and a half. Told them never walk again. So I'm very familiar with what you can do with your time, not being able to move anything for about a year and a half. So your Madden skills get sharpened. I can tell you that right now. I probably could throw down, beat anybody in Madden, and you probably gain about 25, 30 pounds. No joke.
Wow, yo, I appreciate the call. I was having a conversation with Tony Reale today. There are few words that have fewer positive connotations than severed. Anytime somebody breaks out severed, it never means anything good. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, coming up next, Domonique Foxworth sold on the Eagles. We'll ask him on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Traveling for business is a game of wins and losses. Having a short wait to get through security, that's a win. Forgetting about the bottle of water in your briefcase so you have to go through the security line again, that's a loss. Buying your business trip at Upside.com is not just a win, baby. It's a triple win. You've heard me talk about 2 of their wins. The great prices Upside delivers, as well as the gift card every time you buy a business trip. But number 3 is the big win. 6-star treatment you'll get from Upside's customer service specialists. They call them navigators. One recent Upside customer had a flight canceled while rebooking. A navigator contacted the hotel and had them change his check-in day without charging any fees. That's just one example of how Upside navigators go above and beyond for business travelers. Imagine what they'll do for you. Go to Upside.com and use code Bomani, and you'll get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com. That's code Bomani for a minimum $100 gift card when you buy your next business trip. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest, check him out at theundefeated.com. Also on the Nickel Package Podcast, Thursdays with Mina Kimes. His name is Domonique Foxworth. Domonique, I'm sorry, there's a defensive back day. Is that something you're trying to start?
Why not? I mean, we're underappreciated. I think we set a great example for all of society. What else do you need to know other than when things go well, cornerbacks dance, and when things don't go well, cornerbacks don't care. They move on and take on the next challenge with the same type of confidence. We should all be more like cornerbacks. So today is a day to appreciate them. All we do is hate on them and throw unnecessary flags. That is what the world has become.
Now, do cornerbacks go back with that same confidence, or is it that you ain't got no other choice but to go back out there anyway?
Well, sorry, you can't tell is the point. It doesn't matter what's actually going on inside. It's on the outside, it appears as if the cornerbacks have lost no confidence. So that's all that matters.
We're talking to Domonique Foxworth of the Undefeated here on The Right Time. So where are you on Carson Wentz?
I mean, he's better than I thought he was. Last year, I was when everyone's kind of jumping on the Wentzylvania or the Wentz wagon early in the season, I was pointing out some of his issues, and he's better than he was then. But I don't think he's as good as people think he is. I think a lot of the reason why they've been winning is the same reason why they won early last year is their defense and special teams plays well, and guys are making plays for him. So last night, I thought he was incredible. He made tremendous kind of unbelievable feats of physical strength and kind of things that other quarterbacks would be pointed out and called like what they were doing was beast-like. And that was kind of what he was last night. But that's not I don't know that that's something that is so much reliable that you can rely on going forward. So, I don't know. I think that that's pretty much my analysis for the whole league is, I don't know. Like, none of us really know what's going on. I can't tell you how good or bad any team is, but when I kind of take a deep dive on any of these one teams, I end up leaving feeling more down on them than anything else because I can see all their flaws that other people overlook when they just see like, hey, they got to win. They're 6-1. They must be really good.
Well, hey, what's the biggest flaw that you see that's being overlooked?
I think it's their offensive line, or at least their ability to protect Carson Wentz. Like, that was their biggest strength. I think many of the, rating sites have their offensive lines rated, the best, if not the best, top 3 in the league. And they were getting crushed against the blitz, the Eagles, last night. What happened was they were able to have that one big play, which was when Washington wasn't blitzing. That one big play scored a touchdown. Next time they got the ball, they were in a 2-minute drill, which was no huddle, which forced the Redskins out of their blitz package. They had success on that too. And then in the second half, they had success on plays where Carson Wentz shook off a free runner on the blitz. So they never actually effectively picked up the blitz last night. And it just so happened that Carson Wentz shook off some tacklers and made big plays for that 17-yard gain, and then he threw that one touchdown with the guy draped all over him. But I'm not sure that at any point – I'm not sure. At no point last night were they able to, protect Carson Palmer against simple blitzes. They weren't, super exotic, crazy blitzes. They were just kind of simple blitzes. They had enough people there to pick them up, and they weren't able to pick them up.
Our Dr. Domonique Foxworth of Nickel Package Podcast here on The Right Time. So they tell me North Dakota been coming at you for some of this Carson Wentz stuff?
Oh, yeah. I just had the question where John Gruden was talking about he's North Dakota tough, and I was like, when I think of North Dakota, I don't think of tough. I think of desolate and cold, and that's about it. I don't think of tough. So I don't know. Maybe people from North Dakota are tough. It's just I don't know. I think New York. I think tough. That's more of a tough city to me than North Dakota. It just means you're cold and alone.
Yikes! What about Baltimore? You from Baltimore?
Well, Baltimore, I don't know if I certainly would consider Baltimore tougher than North Dakota, but I don't think North Dakota is on, or that state is on the same plane as Maryland. They need to get past South Dakota first. Right now, They are the lesser of the two Dakotas. Come on. South Dakota got Mount Rushmore. They don't got nothing. But one thing I did learn about North Dakota, Carson Wentz, not born there, born in Raleigh. You know who was born in North Dakota?
Who's that?
Wiz Khalifa.
Really?
Yeah, Wiz Khalifa, born in North Dakota. Despite that, he reps Pittsburgh pretty hard. But fun fact, that's what you learn when you start coming down hard on random states. Then you have to do some research so you can make fun of people, and you find out that there actually are some people from North Dakota that deserve our respect.
Well, apparently North Dakota got that fire. We are talking to Domonique Foxworth of the Undefeated here on The Right Time. You used to play for the Ravens, man. When did Joe Flacco get terrible?
I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I have not looked really close at what they're doing, but I've, read a lot of different analysts talk about him, and it's so weird because the opinions are so divergent. Some people blame everyone around them, which I guess is what you do when you want to kind of cape up for a guy, which doesn't mean that it's not necessarily true. Then other people are just like, Joe Flacco ruined that team by taking more money than he deserved, which you'll never get me to jump on board with that. So I'm gonna go on the side of his receivers can't stay healthy and they can't sustain a running game. Like Joe Flacco, at no point were we saying Joe Flacco is Drew Brees. Like we knew that Joe Flacco was a high-end kind of average quarterback, high-end, and can reach the highest heights and carry you to a Super Bowl when he gets hot. But no one's thinking that he's like Peyton Manning where you put him on the team and all of a sudden he turns everybody into gold. Like he needs talent around him, and they haven't been able to do that. They haven't been able to stay healthy. I think that Baltimore has been the most injured team over the last 10 years or so. So all those things go into it. So I don't know. I just don't think that he suddenly forgot how to play football. So you don't just – because that Super Bowl run wasn't him, like, getting lucky or riding the back of the defense. Like, he was good. That the year before and that year, he was good in the playoffs, and I don't think you just forget how to do that.
Well, the other thing we talk about the contract is that contract was astronomical for the time, but he makes less money than Kirk Cousins does now.
That's true. And, I mean, you look at what's around Kirk Cousins right now, and it's not very good when their leading rusher and leading receiver is a running back who is good. He's not bad, but he's not girly or anything like that. So it happens when you tie up that money in that position. That guy better be a serious difference maker, and it doesn't seem that they have that in either of these DMV area teams.
All right, we're talking to Domonique Foxworth, the Undefeated, here on The Right Time. You still on the Chiefs bandwagon?
Oh, yeah. You can't get me off of the Chiefs bandwagon. I am an avid supporter of Andy Reid and all things that the Chiefs do. And I was surprised at what they did last week. They went away from some of the things that they had majored in, like the more college-style offense that they had majored in. Because I'm one – I know a lot of people say that college-style stuff won't work in the NFL. I'm one that believes that it will. And I think it's smart to go in that direction because it's hard to find a guy that everyone is dreaming of that can sit in that pocket and pass like Tom Brady. Like, those guys aren't out there. It's a lot easier to find guys who are somewhat athletic and reasonably accurate with their passes. And you can create all types of dilemmas and difficult things for that defense. So I was surprised that they went a more traditional route against Oakland. And I mean, they still had a chance to win that game. So, yeah, I'm not getting off the Chiefs bandwagon. They have playmakers on defense, and Andy Reid is going to find a way to score points. I don't care what you say, how bad you guys talk about him. I can get over the clock management issues.
Yeah, see, I don't talk about Andy Reid. I have a whole different discussion with him on clock management, which is I would never want my head coach to call plays, right? Because I feel like you're doing too much at one time. Yeah. But to be on the Chiefs bandwagon, I have to think in year 13 that Alex Smith turned into an entirely different person. And he's playing very well, but he's still himself, right?
Yeah. So first of all, the thing about you and I think we've had this conversation. I'm 100% on board with you. Like, I think that Andy Reid, they should just pay him like $15 million a year to be the offensive coordinator and hire somebody who wants to be the head coach. Because it seems to me that, like, he took the head coaching job because he likes the prestige, he likes the title, and that's the next step, you know? But it seems like in his heart, he's an offensive coordinator. Let him do that. And let somebody who is – because clock management is not that hard if you're focused on it completely. It's not like Andy can't do it. He could do it. But just pay somebody. Like, I feel like you could roll an intern out there, and he could figure out when it is good and bad to call timeout. So, I mean, that's a whole nother ball of wax. It frustrates me that Andy can't figure that out, but I'm still going to stay on his bandwagon, especially now when everyone's jumping off just because they lost 2 measly games.
By the way, Andy Reid makes me want to interpolate a Willie D classic. Andy Reid is the Kool-Aid man, right? Like, when he got that red on, he's the Kool-Aid man.
I mean, Andy Reid is probably one of the most – well, with the exception of Mike Gundy, he might be the most interesting-looking head coach out there in professional sports because his body shape and his mustache. Like, the mustache doesn't get enough attention. And that video that keeps on giving of him in a punt, pass, and kick challenge where he was obviously a ringer. Like, come on. I don't know why we are continuing to perpetuate this ruse that somehow Andy Reid was 6'3", 240 at 13. Like, that wasn't a thing.
That is Domonique Foxworth. Check him out, theundefeated.com. Also, the Nickel Package Podcast, Thursdays with Mina Kimes, and every week here on The Right Time. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Always. Thank you.
All right, now ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Domonique Foxworth of the Undefeated for joining us last segment. Richard Justice of MLB.com will join us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast, available on the ESPN app. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Martavis Bryant talked to Josina Anderson on the phone, and he said, hey, man, I got to go. I think the quote is, got to move on. He says that at the trade deadline, he wants to be traded, and if the Steelers don't want him to contribute to the offense. He had all of 1 catch for 3 yards. He wants to get out of there. Here is Josina. She was on SportsCenter this morning with Michael Eaves, and this is what she said about her conversation with Martavis Bryant.
He told me the bottom line is this, is it's going to come down to whether things are going to change or not, whether I'm going to be able to contribute more or not. And Martavis told me if things continue to stay the same, then I want out, period. That was on the record. He said, I love my team, I love my city, I love my brothers, but I have my family to take care of. You have to remember, through his suspension last year, missing all of last year, 4 games in 2015, he lost about $850,000. So he told me, I just want to be able to contribute more, and if that's not what's going to happen, then just send me on my way.
I mean, I bet you want that. Right? But what's the thing about people in that one place want ice water? Right? Like, that's what this is. Like, No, this is not going to work out for you. You got to lay low. Like, the best way that you can improve your earnings is to put your head down and just show that you can be a contributor to the team. Because, Shannon, I think you talked about that, right? That this has a lot to do with bread?
Right, essentially. And, like, you look at the amount of money that he's lost, something like $800,000 that he's lost in suspensions over the last couple of years. So he's thinking about that in his production and looking at his next contract. But if you think about it, if he's trying to make himself look viable on the free agent market, doing something like this doesn't help.
No, not at all. Now, our man Ken Fahey says that the big problem for Martavis Bryant is Roethlisberger is not able to connect on the deep ball as he was before, and Martavis Bryant's whole existence is to go and catch deep balls, right? Like, that's his explanation on it. That's why he thinks that the problem exists as it does. But it is funny. This dude's like, yo, I missed out on $800,000 last year. You ever read that ESPN magazine story where Edgerrin James was talking about coming off that year where he tore his ACL, and he said he lost $3.875 million that year, and people were talking about at the end of the games that Edgerrin James needed to be running out of bounds to kill the clock. He was like, no, I need to be running out of bounds. He needs to stay in bounds to kill the clock. And he's like, no, I need to be running out of bounds to get these yards. Don't worry, I'll get the first down. But if I got a chance to go out of bounds and save this time, I'm going to go out of bounds. That's Martavis Bryant right there. Like, how long is it going to be before Martavis Bryant find a way to steal other people's passes? Out here living that Wally Zerbiak life. Hey, man, that money's real. That money's real. You are already like a ticking time bomb as far as the substance abuse policy goes, right? And I'm not saying I know anything about his addiction or whether, I don't know the extent of it. I just know if he get caught one more time, it's going to be big problems, which is the biggest reason why nobody is trading for him. Let's think about this for a second. If you were Washington, you got Terrell Pryor, and he hasn't been any good filling the role that Martavis Bryant effectively wants to fill, you trade for him, right? Except for the whole, he's, just might fail a drug test or ruin everything for you. Like, you got no leverage whatsoever in this situation. You have none. You just got to live with whatever it is that's going to go. So just go down there, run them go routes, stick your hand up in the air, because his desire to get out has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not he is going to be able to get out. And he is not going to be able to get out, because why would the Steelers? Seriously, like, why would the Steelers let him go? Name one positive thing the Steelers get out. The only way that he can make himself get out of there is to behave in such a toxic fashion that nobody else will want to sign him anyway, right? I wonder what it's like, though, for those people that's sitting around every day, and the only way that they can get any kind of solace from what they're doing is to try to find a way to get fired. That seems like a really risky play, doesn't it? But people do it. Like, you need to be an NBA star to be out here like, nah, don't worry about it, man. I'm going to just get myself fired. Didn't Vince Carter do that where he basically just got himself fired? It's like, all right, y'all don't want to trade me. It's cool. I'll get myself traded. Just you watch. Martavis Bryant is not the Vince Carter of the NFL. Just so you know. He is not the Vince Carter of the NFL. Hey, the Right Time is brought to you by Upside. Now save big on traveling. Get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com. Upside.com. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. We're coming up on the 5 o'clock Eastern hour of the Right Time. And coming up next, okay, guys, I think it's okay to get excited about Ben Simmons. We'll talk about that on ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. All right, so this process in Philadelphia, and this process been going on for like 4 years. Right. Like, hasn't this process been going on for 4 years? Like, Michael Carter-Williams, I felt like was the first pick in the process, and then after that, they wound up getting Embiid, and then they drafted Nerlens Noel, and then neither one of them could. No, Nerlens Noel was in 2013. Either way, this process has been going on for a very, very long time, and I feel like last night was the first time that you really got a look that gave you a handle on what this could possibly be. So, yeah, they played pretty well last year while Embiid was healthy. There's no denying that one. But Embiid by himself wasn't going to be enough to get the job done. The promise of this had to be with the idea of having 2 star players. And Ben Simmons went out there and put up a triple-double. Was he the first guy in his first 4 games to put up a triple-double since the great Hambone Williams? In 1969, by the way, I had never heard of Hambone Williams, and then I got to doing some research on Hambone Williams, and apparently Hambone Williams is a very good friend of the current mayor of Miami Beach, Florida. Right. It's crazy the things you find out in a Wikipedia rabbit hole. But here's what the Sixers have with Simmons and with Embiid. They've got 2 guys, 6'10" or better, who can not only face the basket, but can face the basket and bring it to you. Like, both of them can get to the basket off the dribble from that height, yet somehow both be, like, totally distinct players. They've got some overlap in their skills in the sense that Ben Simmons can block some shots, but they're going to keep this point guard thing up until they realize it just doesn't make any sense to have that dude playing point guard. But it is amazing what it is that he can do. It makes you also reevaluate those LSU years, because I understood where people are coming from when they were saying if he couldn't get LSU into the tournament, then what will he do in the NBA? And he's out here like, look, man, if my skill was passing the ball and these dudes ain't good enough to catch him, I don't know what it is that you want for me to do. But in college, you could not stop him from getting to the rack. Right? I still think there's no more valuable skill in basketball than the ability to get to the rack. So he can get to the rack. He can get the ball to other people if he just develops a credible jump shot. Not a great jump shot. He does not have to be a guy that's shooting 40% from 3. It's just got to be credible. You just got to be able to pay some measure of respect to it. If that happens, it will be totally unfair what you can get out of Ben Simmons. And to understand what a credible jump shot will do for you, even if it is not a great jump shot, I present for you the example of John Wall, where all it took for John Wall to really unlock what he could be was for the jump shot to be credible. That when you decided to try to take a jumper, people at least had to pretend like they had to put a hand in your face. If it gets to that point with Simmons, at that height, with his vision and everything else, woo-wee, it's going to be a monster. And for those 15 games this year that he plays with Joel Embiid, we're going to have something to see. Yeah. Once again, the whole problem that the Sixers have with the process, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with Ben Simmons. What if Simmons messes around and makes them just a little bit too good? Just a little bit too good. Because I personally have seen no reason to believe that Joel Embiid will be able to stay healthy. If Embiid does stay healthy, I do think Embiid will become the best player in the NBA. If he stays healthy. Like, he's the evolution. He is the evolution of the paradigm. Once he came back and he was able to shoot threes, it's like, oh, okay, this is unfair. Because he becomes a guy that can play outside while still having an inside defensive game. And if you've ever, like, physically been in the same space with Joel Embiid, I cannot explain to you what a large man that is. Like, that is a giant dude to be able to do all this stuff. So the Sixers, Now we're at that point. They've done this a couple times in years before where they get you excited about the potential of what the process could become with just a couple of flashes. But what is the process if Embiid can't stay healthy? I don't think anybody has an answer for that. What is the process if Embiid can't stay healthy? Like with Simmons, I know Simmons had the foot injury, but I don't feel like I'm in a situation where I've got to, like, if he hurts his foot again, then we'll be asking, like, long-term questions about his ability to stay healthy. He's not Embiid. Embiid staying healthy, and this whole thing gets frightening. What is it, though, if Embiid doesn't stay healthy? Like, how much better is Ben Simmons really going to make them? Because as exciting as it was for them to watch him put up that triple-double and win that game, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, wasn't that the first game they won all year?
Yeah, it was their first win of the season. And when Embiid didn't play in the previous game because of the limitations that they have on him, where he's not going to be playing back-to-backs. So.
And by the way, we're this many years into this, and they still don't feel like they can play him in back-to-backs. Like, what are they doing? I mean, and I don't blame them because they're like, we want to keep this guy as healthy as we possibly can. But when do you feel comfortable not playing him in back-to-backs? Like, what's it going to take for them to feel like this dude can handle something that is fairly routine for NBA players? So, yeah, you have this thing where guys want to get rest, right, during the season, and they don't want to play back-to-backs, but they play some of them, right? Like, they're not feeling that way for all of them. They play some of them. How long is it going to take?
It'll be curious to look at them with the Philly with the minutes restrictions. Once they start really getting good and contending there in the East in the playoff spot, are they willing to sit him and cost games when they're battling for playoff positioning?
It's a fair question. Also, by the way, Shannon, how long will it be before Jaleel Okafor go beat somebody up on the street? I imagine he's got to be very frustrated right now, don't you? Right?
I mean, he would have to be, right? Because the thing about Okafor, we've said this on the show before, he's a very offensively skilled big man in the low post. The only problem is, are they doing that they're not doing that in the NBA anymore.
Here's the thing about it on top of that, though, because I thought his game was very, very good in college, but we can't even limit this to the NBA, though, because his on-off numbers when he was at Duke was better with Okafor off the floor. Now, he's got great hands, and he's got all that size, so he can feel like such an unstoppable offensive option. But the truth is, he's Kevin Duckworth, right? A big body who can put up some points, but some of that other center stuff, he doesn't really give it to you. So, Anthony Davis, I think, was the last guy that we looked at as like the quintessential big man that you take number one in the draft if he happens to be there. Before that, it was Greg Oden. But the thing about Greg Oden was you didn't take Greg Oden because of what he was giving you offensively. You took Greg Oden because of what you thought he could give you defensively. Now, of course, it didn't happen in large part because of injuries, but it's the defensive part of being the center that people really wanted you to get, right? And after that, in the old paradigm of the rules, because of post up in the old illegal defense rules, if you're big enough, you'll be able to get some buckets. But you needed somebody that could hold down the paint defensively. That has never been Okafor. Right? That's never been it. So what he does well offensively doesn't matter anymore, and what he's needed to do well defensively, he's never offered. Like, what's going to be wild about this is that when all is said and done, there is a good chance that we will say that Roy Hibbert was a better NBA player than Jaleel Okafor was. Right. And what are they going to get for him? Right, he's just sitting there riding the oak. He got some minutes the other day. Good for him, right? They say he got like 20 minutes of some garbage time or something like that.
Garbage?
Garbage. They burned that pick, though. They absolutely burned that pick. They had to be sitting there the whole way just hoping that the Lakers would be silly enough to take him. And nope, they were like, nah, we'll take D'Angelo Russell, which, by the way, came with his own drawbacks.
Let me ask you in regards to Okafor, do you think he can still be a starting caliber center in the league, or is he just now going to be a specialized big man off the bench?
But here's the thing with that. Starting for somebody he probably can be, but what I'd ask about that is, if he's just a big man to come off the bench, why would you want him to be the big man to come off the bench? Right? If he's going to make you that much worse defensively as he has for the better part of his college and pro careers, if he's going to make you worse defensively, what is he helping you with coming off the bench? Are you going to have it in a situation where we just transfer everything and be like, okay, when Ja on the floor, we just going to kick him the ball down low? Like I said, I mean, I don't know what in the world you're supposed to do with such an antiquity. Okafor did not play last night, Shannon. Third time in 4 games that he did not play. And Markelle Fultz had to have his shoulder drained. You ever hear about somebody having a shoulder drain?
I've heard knee. I've had my knee drained a couple times. A shoulder, though? Shooting shoulder, too? Ooh.
Yeah, the knee is the only thing I've ever heard of anybody having drained. And what I'm trying to figure out is if the way he looked had to do with him being hurt, why'd they have him out there? Come on, Sixers, y'all ain't got no problem with tanking and keeping dudes off the floor. What's really good? All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, I'm just trying to figure out how a fight did not start in Dallas last night at the Warriors-Mavericks game. Find out why I'm surprised there was no fight on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 8.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Richard Justice of MLB.com will join us next segment. Richard Justice will join us at 5:30 Eastern to talk about the World Series. Right Time is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics. Take a synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We're going to talk about what happened in the Warriors-Mavericks game in just a second. But first, let's take a phone call. Wallace from Brooklyn. Thanks for calling The Right Time.
Yeah, hi, Bomani. I love your show.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed, you never properly apologize to us Alex Smith fans. I mean, you've made some really bad remarks, and I think I speak for all of us where you never actually said you were wrong, and Alex Smith is a top 3 quarterback now.
Yeah, let me say something to all you Alex Smith fans, okay? Stop being mediocre at your lives and get better. I'm out here every day being excellent. I don't ask y'all once to apologize for the fact that y'all are so rinky-dink and mediocre. So until you want to apologize to my excellence for your mediocrity, Alex Smith gets nothing.
The top quarterback who leads the league in quarterback rating this year?
Yeah, that's good for him. That's good for him. And you want an apology. You realize how mediocre you have to be to want an apology for somebody else? So, like, have you been mediocre your whole life? Because, like, Alex Smith has been mediocre for 12 years in the NFL and is doing pretty well in his 13th. Have you also been mediocre for 12 years? And in the 13th, you may be doing your best? Or is the 13th going for you the same way the 12 previous ones did before, and you just want to get some shine off Alex Smith? Because I feel like he's the mascot for the mediocre, Wallace. Are you really going to be following behind the mascot for the
mediocre?
Huh?
I've always put him in the top 10, so I never would call him mediocre.
Oh, my fault. We're just doing this for blind people. Like, look, I'm going to just tell you this, man, because I want the best for you, right? My brother taught me this a while ago. Do one excellent thing per day. Go out of your way to do one excellent thing per day. And then from there, you can rise above your mediocrity. And the excellent thing that I would recommend that you do is watch more football. Then you won't say nothing silly like that again. Appreciate the call. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Shannon, was I harsh?
No, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't harsh at all.
I will say that's a little unlike most of the Alex Smith stands. I was curious what Brooklyn was calling, weren't you?
Right, absolutely. When I saw that Brooklyn, I was getting ready for Canarsie or something.
Right, I was like, you mean like I was thinking, so like, are you like from Brooklyn, but you moved to Long Island?
Right.
Is that what this is?
Was he from Fort Hamilton? I was just getting ready for it.
No, where he would be from now, Shannon, is Williamsburg. Williamsburg is this big, broad heading for Brooklyn you can go to. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So the Warriors got themselves, but they're back up to 500 now. They blew the doors off the Mavericks. And then with about 3 minutes left in the game, Jordan Bell, the dude who looked like a condor playing for Oregon last year, he gets the ball on the sideline. He's coming to the rack. Somebody's coming up. He throws the ball off the glass. He catches it. He dunks. He swings. Mavericks so salty that Rick Carlisle just did the quick handshake and walk past because he was so upset about what happened. The homie Steve Kerr felt like he had to go have a talking to with Jordan Bell. And I'm just curious here, right? You guys help me out, okay? You guys let me know. Shannon, if what he did was so offensive to the Mavericks, how come wasn't nobody out there fighting? They ain't got one goon. If the game was at a point where Jordan Bell could be out there living like that, shouldn't the Mavericks have had a goon out there?
And that was my point with this whole thing. If the Mavericks were so upset about this, then you got to have a goon go out there and take care of business. If you're so upset that the Rook, quote unquote, showed you up, then you got to go out there and handle your business.
Now, I will say this. I do not have a problem with the Mavericks being upset with that, right? And the reason I don't have a problem with the Mavericks being upset with that is Buddy styled on them in their own crib, right? So I do understand the argument that if you don't like it, stop it. That is correct. But I also think you have the right to be mad that this dude just styled on you with what they used to call in NBA Street the dinner serve. Shane, you remember the dinner serve? You had all the turbo buttons at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And me and my boy had a line that we called the dinner serve at the time. The ultimate disrespect. That's what it is. Is there anything more disrespectful that you can do on a basketball court other than throw the ball off the glass in front of somebody and then bang on them? Is there? Oh, there he is. There he is. I forgot. You remember that one time in the rookie sophomore game? You think about the same thing I am? When Carlos Boozer was guarding Jason Richardson, and Jason Richardson threw the ball off his forehead to hit a 3 in his face. Is that what you were thinking of?
Just imagine if Carlos Boozer was using the Beijing then. Woo! Think about how slippery that ball would have been.
You know what, though? The thing about Boozer, after we talked to him that time about that day he wore that Beijing, he knew he was tripping. Like, I feel like if he had the Beijing in his head that day that Jason Richardson threw the ball off his forehead, he'd have been like, I deserve that. You're right. I'm doing the most. I had that coming. But, whoo, boy, I told you about the time my homeboy, I got a buddy who's a pretty good high school basketball player in California, and he said in the state semis, his squad was playing against DeShaun Stevenson's squad. You got to remember, DeShaun Stevenson came straight from high school to the league, right? Like, he was a monster like that. And he said it's like he's his senior year. It's his last game. They out there getting their doors blown off, and he's on the bench, and he's just like, man, it's my last game, you know, everything that comes with it. And he said at one point, DeShaun Stevenson's team had a 2-on-1 break with DeShaun, like, was going down for a bucket, and DeShaun Stevenson was running the break. He had the ball. No, the other guy had the ball. Other guy had the ball. DeShaun Stevenson's running, and there was some sophomore on the team who wanted to show the coach that he was going to fight to the last man, right? Never say die, all of that. He said he got down there, he was running, and then next thing you know, they said they saw from the bench DeShaun Stevenson put a finger up in the air, and they were like, oh, no. Oh, no. It's like slow motion, right? They're like, oh, no, watch out. Threw that ball off the glass. Little homie saw the ball come off the glass. Turned around as the ball turned around. They said you could see his face through the inseam of DeShaun Stevenson's shorts. That's right. And why do I say that? Simply to drive home the point that throwing the ball off the glass and dunking on somebody is what? The ultimate disrespect. Now, Draymond Green's mom, she on Twitter, you know. And she says, where I'm from, the butt whipping was until the buzzer sounds. Push the gas. Hashtag, these are grown men. No disrespect. Play harder. And, ma'am, I understand exactly what it is that you're saying, but you're not going to say that this wasn't disrespect. You don't do that to me. You don't do that to people you respect. Jake, you think of somebody who's had the ball thrown off the glass and they got banged on like by someone who respected them?
No, not at all. Like, you're not going to throw it off the glass and then hit him with all due respect. I'm about to throw the ball off the glass. No, not at all.
I do love Draymond's quote about it, though, where he says his only message to the rookie, make the free throw. That's it. Now, here's Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr says he's a young guy. He's having fun out there. He didn't even realize he had offended anybody. Yes, he did. You know damn well he offended somebody throwing the glass. I'll put it like this. Let somebody throw the glass off and bang on him and see if he's not offended. He been after the game. I mean, I'm just saying, I thought there was a certain way that I thought we professionals. There's a code to this. Code, yeah, there's a code to this. There it is. I'm still looking at the Mavericks, though. Like, that's how you know this whole NBA is completely different. Somebody would have had to take him out for that. And, like, the dude that was running down there, maybe he was slow to adjust, but, like, maybe you going to dunk on me right there, but you got to hit the ground. We had the no dunking rule in high school. Y'all don't have that there? No. Can't be like that, homie. Cannot be like that. By the way, Shannon, outside of David West, is there anybody goonly? Oh, they got Jaja, don't they?
See, speaking of David West, and I was going to bring that up, too, when it comes to the Warriors. You talked about the disrespect in the Mavericks in Dirk, right? Mm-hmm. And that takes us back to that one time that Dirk was on the court. And David West was on the court.
That was disrespectful.
Explain to the folks what he did.
All right, so this is the 2008 playoffs, the first round. And I don't remember what it was that Dirk had done, but David West apparently did not like it. And David West walked up to that dude and tapped him on the jaw 3 times while talking to him. And Dirk sat there and listened to every word. Every word. Although, Shannon, to be fair, what other choice did Dirk have if he wasn't going to fight David West? That was so disrespectful, though. It was so terribly disrespectful. Hey, man, but disrespect's tolerated a little more than it used to be back in the day, I suppose. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You ready for the World Series? We're going to talk to Richard Justice of MLB.com about it on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Traveling for business is a game of wins and losses. Having a short wait to get through security, that's a win. Forgetting about the bottle of water in your briefcase so you have to go through the security line again, that's a loss. Buying your business trip at Upside.com, it's not just a win, it's a triple win. You've heard me talk about two of their wins. The Great Prices Upside delivers, as well as the gift card every time you buy a business trip. But number 3 is the big win. The 6-star treatment you'll get from Upside's customer service specialists. They call them navigators. One recent Upside customer had a flight canceled, and while rebooking, a navigator contacted the hotel and had them change his check-in day without charging any fees. That's just one example of how navigators go above and beyond for business travelers. Imagine what they'll do for you. Go to Upside.com and use code Bomani, and you'll get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com. That's code Bomani for a minimum $100 gift card when you buy your next business trip. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He's a correspondent for MLB.com. His name is Richard Justice. Now, Richard, games are going to be – these first 2 games are in Los Angeles. Did you ever think that you would be in a place where you're going to games in Los Angeles, and that seems like the city that needs a dome because it's going to be so hot outside?
Somebody joked to me yesterday. He goes, well, I knew if they kept moving the World Series later, this would happen. It's I don't think it's going to be – I don't think it's going to be critical because the energy for games 1 and 2 is going to be so high. And let's face it, the sun's going to go down after about an hour and a half. It is different. It doesn't feel like a hot Houston day, but it is warm. But as far as I know, they're going to be on the field before the game doing some of what they usually do. But energy management's become a big deal in the game. Joe Madden started that.
Now, do you think that might have some effect, though, on, like, the elevation of the baseball, for example? The hotter it is, it tends to be the ball goes farther.
Yeah, and that's something – that's funny you mentioned that. You should have seen the Dodgers take batting practice yesterday. It was unbelievable. The ball – it was like Coors Field. After a while, every ball that got in the air looked like it was flying out. So I do think that's part of it. And, let's face it, players now are indoctrinated to get the ball in the air. So that's another challenge for the 2 pitchers. But, yeah, I do think the environment will matter.
All right, we are talking to Richard Justice of MLB.com here on The Right Time. Now, speaking of home runs, Clayton Kershaw's 2-0 in the playoffs this year, which on one hand shakes some of the rap he's gotten for not being good in big games that I think is overstated, but he's given up 6 home runs. So how much do you think the big game part matters with him?
I think it's the missing line in his resume that he hasn't won a championship. He has the credentials to go to the Hall of Fame as soon as he gets the 10 years in, but he's one of the most accountable guys in the game. But when you look back at his start-by-starts in the postseason, when he's had regular rest, 4 days rest, his ERA is under 2, and if you take out 2 terrible starts where he sort of took a bullet for the pitching staff both times, his ERA is like 3.3, something like that. So I think some of it's overblown. But when you are considered the best pitcher of your generation, how do we remember Bob Gibson? We don't remember Bob Gibson for one game he pitched in the regular season. We remember him for what he did in October, and that's part of establishing greatness.
And for being the scariest man on planet Earth. Like, that's the other part with Bob Gibson. But with Kershaw,
that too, yes.
But as Kershaw, it's not even like, at least correct me if I'm wrong here, when you go back and look at it, it's almost not even start by start. It's inning by inning, where if Don Mattingly had taken him out of a couple of those games, our perception is completely different.
Yeah, that's true. But also some of that was by the time he got to October, he was at 220, 230 innings, and so fatigue is part of it. And I just think the guy, the last 2 times out, he's been really good, and I think he's the pitcher against that every other is measured against among this generation of pitchers. And if he goes out and throws a 8-inning shutout tonight, no one should be surprised.
All right, we're talking to Richard Justice of MLB.com here on The Right Time. Now, one interesting factor in this series is Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, A.J. Hinch, the manager of the Astros, have a particular friendship. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, A.J. was the assistant general manager in San Diego. Dave was on the coaching staff. And they just hit it off. They're 2 guys that both played in the Pac-12. Dave at UCLA, AJ at Stanford, and they just found they clicked. And their families had become friends. They text all the time. And they had at the All-Star break this year, they had a breakfast with both teams in first place. They had a breakfast in San Diego, and they looked at each other like, this might really happen. So when the Dodgers clinched, AJ texted vice versa when the Astros clinched, And as Dave said, since then, radio silence. But they did hug on the field last night. It can't help but be a little awkward because these two guys, part of what makes them, we live in an information age of baseball, but the connection you can make to people is what matters. And what the players on both sides will tell you is that Dave is one of those guys, Terry Francona is one of these guys like this, is that you love the guy, you want to please him, but there's also a line there, you want to respect him. And so they feel that way about each other. They feel a bond. So, you like a little competitive fire and all. I think it's going to be really weird when the two guys look across the field at each other in the dugout. But, ultimately you want to win the World Series, and that will override the friendship. They can go play golf in 2 weeks.
All right, we are talking to Richard Justice of MLB.com here on The Right Time. How tired do you think Jose Altuve is of people bringing up the fact that he's 5'6" like we can't see?
How tired is he?
Yes.
Well, I think those of us around him are probably more tired of it than anything because this is a great player. This is a great player that there's no way to pitch him. He's got the quickest hands you've ever seen. And the backstory, the teams just wouldn't sign him in Venezuela because of his height. One guy told him, I like your skill set, but I'm not calling the home office and tell him I just signed a guy 5'5". I'm not going to do that. And he flew through the minor leagues. And not just that, Bomani. After his second year or third year in the big leagues, he remade himself around nutrition, around video, around preparation, and in 4 seasons since 3 batting titles. He is just an amazing player, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. And he seems to be okay with it, but I would like for him to be recognized for the fact that he is a great player.
Now, I have to ask you this as someone who grew up in Houston, and maybe because I feel like I'm the one person who can't let go of this. Have you gotten comfortable with this idea of the Astros being in the National League? Because I was looking at Verlander's stats since the trade, and I was like, well, that happens when you change leagues. And it was almost till yesterday I was like, wait a minute, they're not in that league anymore.
Well, I think the fans in Houston couldn't accept it for a long time because you know how it is. Now, you and I know the Cardinals' biggest rival was never going to be the Astros. But to you, if you live in Houston, your rivals are the Reds and the Cardinals and the Cubs. But the fact is the first years in the American League were so hard to take because the team stunk. They lost 100 games 3 years in a row. When you start winning, it really doesn't matter what league you're in. But it does seem strange that this is an Astros-Dodgers World Series. But, slowly you get indoctrinated to it.
All right, that is Richard Justice. Check him out, MLB.com. Thank you so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem. World Series is on ESPN Radio. Catch all the action at 7 p.m. Eastern, presented by AutoZone on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Richard Justice of MLB.com for joining us last segment. Chris Mannix at Yahoo Sports will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. The Fall Football Tour on ESPN Radio is brought to you by Dr. Pepper, reminding you that the Russillo Show will be live from Columbus this Friday, covering the Penn State-Ohio State matchup. College Football Playoff Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper, the one fans crave. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Dwayne Wade is going to be coming off the bench for the Cavaliers. Yes, he will be coming off the bench. He started at first. Now he is going to be coming off the bench. And by the way, here is Dwayne Wade himself saying that, now that I think about it, I think the Oak is the place for me.
So, our goal was to try that and see how it was. But, I just decided earlier than later just to get to the unit where, I'll be more comfortable in and, can probably be better with this team in that lineup. So, why wait? 3 games in, why wait? I wanted to get in there, with those guys.
So, the question, did Dwayne Wade bench himself or did the Cavs bench Dwayne Wade? That's what I want to know, because I do feel like even if they bench Dwayne has been an important enough player in the NBA that you allow him to come out and say, no, I think it'll be best for me to come off of the bench. No, I think it'll be the move. And by the way, I do think it'll be the move because if we're talking about a guy that none of us think has a lot of minutes in him, then you might as well get the most out of the minutes that you have. Bring him in with the second unit. He could be a bit more of a playmaker. He can still get out there walt those jacks like he's been doing forever. But, Shannon, do you really believe that it was his decision to come off the Oak?
It's a nice sell, and it sounds great, him it's sacrificing for the betterment of the team. But this is a guy who only came off the bench 11 times previously in his career.
I'm surprised it's that many, to be honest. Like, did LeBron have to come have a heart-to-heart? Did Ty Lue be like, hey, man, that's your boy. You the one that said you wanted him here, right? All right, then. Well, you go tell him he coming off the bench. LeBron come over there like, hey, D-Wade, I just got something I want you to think about. You get to make the decision, man. But if I was you, I'd give this some real thought. I really think that your best place is out there with the second unit. Yeah. That's where we need you, baby. That's where we need you. So if that's the move for you, I think you ought to go tell the coach that you want to play for the second unit. But look, he about to leave, and I told him you was going to go talk to him. So I think you should do that right now.
All right, and one thing you have to keep in mind as well, Derrick Rose is out, going to miss a couple games with injury as well. So Cleveland's starting lineup tonight against the Bulls. J.R. Smith and LeBron in the backcourt, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and Jay Crowder in the front court. So LeBron is just starting point guard.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad lineup. You still have three shooters, right? Right, you still have Kevin Love. You got J.R. And Crowder. He's not a shooter, but he can shoot, right? So you got three guys. By the way, here's LeBron saying to D-Wade, he good, baby, he good.
He's in a good place. I think the first week, like he told y'all, was a long week for him, just trying to adjust to the new system, adjust to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, okay, LeBron. Yeah, whatever it is that you say. Hey, man, let's see if it works. Shannon, would you be surprised if Dwayne Wade retired during the season?
During the season? Ooh. Would I be surprised? No. He would. Ooh, boy, that's a great question, actually. I hadn't even thought about that. But
I mean, he got that Bulls money, right? They can't take that money back, can they?
No, but I'd imagine that he already has those D-Wade number 4 shirts already printed up, though.
Oh, that's right. Would that be his new nickname, Fo?
That's what you got to do. You got to keep in mind that if they get another championship, it'll be his 4th.
Yes, and LeBron will remind him. Yeah, LeBron has 3 now, right?
He too has 3.
Yeah. I still will never forget that. Dwayne absolutely studied on LeBron. Yeah, my new nickname is 3 because I got 3 championships, just like you. Oh, LeBron, that's right. You don't have 3 championships. Isn't that funny? We came into the league the same year, but yet I got more championships than you. Who saw that coming? All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. I also wonder if LeBron was looking at J.R. Smith and like, yo, we got to get J.R. back in the starting lineup before this turned into a problem. Because I bet J.R. wouldn't say anything in front of LeBron about not wanting to play behind D-Wade. But you're like, come on, bro. I mean, me and you homeboys too, right? Right? I thought we was both homeboys, right? I hang out with your kids. Dwayne ain't the only one that be hanging out with your kids. Yeah. Let me get my spot back. And now we're going to see. Did you see this thing, by the way, where the Cavs are the oldest team in the league?
Really? I didn't realize that.
Keep this in mind. They are the oldest team in the league, and that's after they got rid of Lionel Jefferson. Right? Like, they had Lionel Jefferson on the team, then they traded, and they got Lionel Jefferson up out of there. They did trade him, and they're still the oldest team in the league. And remember, like a cat like Derrick Rose, Derrick Rose just, like, turned 30 recently, right? Or is he turned 30 this year? Like, somewhere in there. Like, Derrick Rose isn't even really that old. But they don't have anybody, like, young. Do they have a single, like, legitimately young player on the team?
Right. That was going to be a question I had for you. Who do they have on the squad that can eat minutes? You know, because obviously so much focus now on rest and things like that. But if you have an older team, these guys are going to need their games off or their rest for extended time. Who do they have that can go out there and eat minutes for them?
Cavs got a whole roster with no future. Like, none of those guys are talking about the future. All of them are talking about right now. Like, yeah, they got that pick from the Nets, and they, want to position themselves well after LeBron leaves. Man, please, I got the oldest team in the league. Y'all trying to get this done right now. Right now. And Shannon, Derrick Rose just turned 29.
With Rose, because of his injury problems, I think of him as an old 29 because we think of Derrick Rose and the explosiveness that he had early in his career, and obviously he doesn't have that now. So you think of him as much older than just 29.
Is that the Knicks fan in you coming out?
I'm just saying. No, not at all. I thought he did well, considering.
You ever say considering what?
That he's nowhere near the player that he used to be.
You're like considering that he's an old 29. He is an old 29, though. He is definitely an old 29. I mean, again, everybody who talks about, like, how this season is not interesting because we already know who's going to the finals. Can we be real? I mean, I guess LeBron makes it where we're sure that Cleveland's going to the finals, but are we sure that Cleveland's going to win 50 games? What they win last year, like right at 50, right?
Right, and we saw last year where getting the top seed wasn't a big thing for them. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else, if the Cavs would say maybe even a third seed. I just see him. I'm not saying it cruising, but I really think the minutes and getting these guys rest are going to be more valuable than playoff seeding.
Well, our man Nuno raises a good question. Does Rich Paul client Eric Bledsoe find himself traded to Cleveland? The problem is, I know old people like to go to Phoenix, but do the Phoenix Suns want old people? Who are they going to trade? Who they give up that anybody wants? All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, find out if I'm enamored enough by Carson Wentz to say Wentzylvania.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to The Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Monday Night Football last night. It looked like there was a chance for Washington to kind of get themselves right there at the top of that division, although they got guys dropping like flies over there. Josh Norman did not play in the game, had some other situations there. But the story is the Eagles, man. The Eagles atop the league right now, 6-1. The Eagles seem to have their quarterback situation all taken care of. All of that excitement. Crushing disappointment feels like it's around the corner. Sorry, Eagles fans. I know you have to be upset with me every time I always bring that up. I just want to stop you guys from doing it to yourselves because I know you guys are getting yourselves in a position where you want to do it to yourselves. And I'm just trying to stop you from being in a place where you do it to yourselves. And the thing is, nothing, I repeat, nothing will get a fan base excited like getting that quarterback situation straight. Now, the Eagles, to be fair, the Eagles are the team that's really just been like quarterback starved, right? Like in my lifetime, I feel like I can name a handful of good quarterbacks that the Eagles have had. The Eagles had Ron Jaworski. The Eagles had Randall Cunningham. The Eagles had Donovan McNabb, although, Shannon, between Cunningham and McNabb, am I forgetting somebody? Because I think it was all boo-boo in between there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Rodney Pete was in there at one point, right?
Rodney Pete. First team marrying up all-star as far as the NFL goes. But then after that, they had McNabb. They had that good year from Michael Vick, right? They had the luckiest year ever from Nick Foles. Like, you guys aren't quarterback starved, but you got a quarterback now. At the very least, you got a guy that looks the part. You have a quarterback that you can feel good about, and that changes the way that you look at your entire franchise. Like, it's one thing to have a quarterback who's pretty good. It's another thing to have a quarterback you feel good about. The Eagles have a quarterback that they feel good about. How many teams in the league, by the way, right now got quarterbacks that they legitimately feel good about? Do Rams fans feel good about Jared Goff yet, or are they just glad he's not as terrible as they thought? Right, I think that's a fair one to ask. Like, who all in the league got a quarterback that you're like, I feel good about this guy? Shannon, do you think the Bucs fans feel good about Jameis?
I still think they do. I think there's a level of optimism with the Bucs. Not right now because it's looking pretty bad right now, and guys are complaining about their playing time. But I think ultimately, Bucs fans and the Bucs organization feel good about Jameis right now.
Yo, dude, I'm looking at all the teams in the league right now. It's such a low number of teams that feel good about their quarterback. So, like the Saints, for example, they feel good about the quarterback they have, but how long are you going to be there? Right? They don't feel good about this. Like, there might be 10 teams in the league that actually feel good about the quarterback they have, fan-wise. You think that Falcons fans feel good about Matt Ryan? Like, we're so glad we have Matt Ryan. You think that?
I do say they do. And the reason I say this, who are you going to get that's better than Matt Ryan?
Well, yes, there is that. And he's probably not going to get arrested for fighting dogs.
Too.
You got to take the good with the bad, right? Like, you absolutely have to take the good with the bad. But no, the Eagles have a 2.5-game lead over Washington, and they got the tiebreaker over Washington. So that's a 3.5-game lead. Now, they still have 2 games left against the Cowboys. Now, the problem with the Cowboys is I have no idea what the Cowboys are going to be from week to week, because from week to week we have no idea if Zeke's going to play. Shannon, he's supposed to play this week?
Yes, he is scheduled to play, yes.
Okay, Zeke is going to play this week. They got him for this week. every week is going to be this, where we have no idea if he plays. We don't even really know how much is going to matter because he's managed to play the whole way. Ooh.
It's funny that you bring up this, that with the Eagle fans. There has to be a level of pessimism, though, because they know that at any point the bottom can fall out. And it's interesting if you compare that to if, say, the Cowboys were in the same situation, their fans, their fans would be so excited. Like, because it wouldn't be that same level of pessimism. Oh, no, we're going to the Super Bowl. You see our record? But with the Eagles, it's like at any point, this can turn left.
Yeah, but I still feel like it doesn't take long before that corner gets turned. I know this because I watched Falcons fans last year. I told you about old buddy I saw the morning of the Super Bowl at Big Pink in Miami who walked past me trying to toss slick. Heard what you've been saying about Atlanta, Bomani, and I told him they're going to break your heart just like they always do. What happened, by the way, Shannon? You remember what happened?
The 2028? 3, I believe. I could be wrong.
Listen to me now. Believe me later on. All right, 888-729-3776. This is a weird phone call. Let's hit the phone. Let's talk to Marty from Dallas. Marty, thanks for calling the right time.
Okay, Bo, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right.
Just wanted to say, I've been trying to get in for a while. You were talking about Alex Smith and mediocre, and then we got to talk about the Mavericks. I don't even know if mediocre is a word for that organization, and how nobody jumped up and busted somebody in our head after what the Warriors did. But that whole organization, from the top to bottom, needs. I know they've been tanking and this and that, but I just don't even. I don't even know what to say about the Mavericks. That's pitiful. Mediocre, non-existent, whatever. And I just want to hear a take on that, man. I appreciate the show.
I appreciate it, man. My thing with the Mavericks that'll always be confusing is how can Mark Cuban not find anybody to give away his money? And Mark Cuban gets a lot of credit for where the Mavericks have gone since he got there, right? Because I think there's a generation of kids that doesn't remember how bad the Mavericks were in the 90s. Like, they have no idea what it was before Mark Cuban got there. And Mark Cuban really turned them and got them to a great place. But they won that championship in 2011, okay? Good for them. The last 6+ years have not been good. How long do we keep giving Mark Cuban credit for being a good owner when the product that he puts out on the floor is not good? Right? Because it's starting to feel like all Mark Cuban really managed to do was get Dirk Nowitzki, and that's a Don Nelson play. Like, I think that's a fair question to ask, right? All right, 888-729-3776. We got an Eagles fan on the phone. Big John, what's going on, man?
Hey, Mr. Bomani, good to hear your voice, man. We miss you up here around Raleigh.
Hey, man, how you been?
I've been doing okay, man. I listen to you every day, and just keeping on, man. Good to hear your voice. But, I had to call you about the Eagles. I know a lot of people do not believe in them. You're right about the quarterbacks. We haven't had a whole lot since Cunningham, Donovan McNabb. We had Ty Detmer and a few other guys in there. Even Doug Peterson, the coach now. But I think that they're going to do about 13-3, and I think they're going to go pretty deep in the playoffs, as long as Wentz can stay healthy.
Here's the thing. I don't have a great argument against you. Big John, I appreciate the call. I don't have a great argument against the idea that the Eagles could go 13-3. Like, they're not in a great division. We thought the Cowboys were going to be something that, at least as of now, they have not demonstrated themselves to be, right? It could. But Shannon, didn't the Cowboys go 13-3 last year? Only to, go to the crib early?
Mm-hmm. First game out for them. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. We had that. Yeah. Does anything feel worse, by the way? I mean, I'm sure other things feel worse, but this is a particular feeling that we got the first round bye and then we lose the first game of the playoffs, right? Like, does it feel better to win the wild card round and then lose the next one? I feel like it feels better because at least you get, like, that jolt of the victory, right? Like, you should get a little winner in your veins. By the way, have you seen the schedule for the Eagles, by the way? They get the 49ers next week at home. They get the Broncos at home. The problem is you mess around and lose to the Broncos because that defense might just show up and maul you. At the Cowboys, home versus the Bears, at the Seahawks, at the Rams, at the Giants, win. Home for the Raiders versus the Cowboys. Shannon, that does look like 13-3.
You're going to throw that lone win in there, huh? Like, you couldn't say win against anybody else. It's a coin flip against all those other teams. But when they're playing the Giants at the vaulted MetLife Stadium, that the House of Horrors there at MetLife Stadium, that's the one win, huh?
How about this? Let's talk about something else. When's the last time the Giants won 13 games? Was it 1990?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Like, I'm being dead serious now. Was it 1990? Didn't they win 13 games that year? And they won a Super Bowl. Remember that? I'm trying to give you happy memories. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, we got your phone calls. And also, Marshawn Lynch's one-game suspension was upheld. I'll ask all the questions you want to ask about that appeal hearing. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Chris Maddox, Yahoo Sports. Join us next segment. Chris Maddox will join us at 6:30 Eastern. Toss him NBA. That is the old soul song of the day, Jammin' by Bob Marley, because I feel like some of us use a little relaxation right now. This is also like super dope gospel. Like this whole run of the Marley catalog is just like the dopest gospel. Nothing makes up for a football obsession like bouquets from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen red or assorted roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen plus a vase absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We're talking about how many teams are like actually happy with the quarterbacks that they have. We're wondering about Rams fans, where they fall on that. We're going to start to Tristan in Durham. Tristan, thanks for calling The Right Time.
How you doing, Bomani? Big fan.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, we are very happy with where we're at with Goff, because the last 15 years between Bolger and Bradford and Foles, we've seen a lot worse. Like, I mean, the offense has been, like, much better, and a lot of it's getting Andrew Whitworth and John Sullivan on the line, new receivers, Sean McVay, so not Jeff Fisher's offense. But the big things are, like, he's actually throwing down the sideline downfield, something Sam Bradford refused to do when he was a Ram, and actually placing it with decent accuracy. And he's not taking those boneheaded sacks and making those boneheaded picks that are letting teams back in games this year, like old Rams quarterbacks the last 15 years used to.
You sound like
he didn't do it against the
things.
Colts. Oh, I've been a Rams fan all my life, man. I've been through hell and back, so to speak.
Hey, man, with Tristan, I appreciate the call. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Shannon, are you thinking the same thing I'm thinking?
I don't know if it's about Jared Goff or not. I think he's just happy Jared Goff is not Sam Bradford.
Yeah, actually, what I was thinking had nothing to do with Jared Goff. Is that what you thought Tristan from Durham was going to sound like?
Oh, that part? Yeah. Oh, nah, not at all.
Nah. See, that's the thing, man. We out here bringing the world together. We get our expectation defied all the time. Because I was like, Tristan, maybe. But from Durham, oh, no. And then we got Tristan from Durham, who was delightful. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So check this out, right? Marshawn Lynch got the one-game suspension for running out on the field during that. Shannon, that was a kerfuffle, right? Like, that was certainly short of a Donnybrook. I think that was legitimately like a textbook example of a kerfuffle.
Yeah, definitely wasn't a Donnybrook. No punches were thrown. A little shoving here and there.
Not a Pier 6?
No, not a Pier 6. Not a melee. It was a kerfuffle. Yeah,
it was a kerfuffle. Right. Like, I think it was fair to call it a kerfuffle. They kicked Lynch out. They had to kick Lynch out. You can't be grabbing the official by the shirt. They suspended him. They had to suspend him because you can't you can't do that. Then Marshawn Lynch wound up riding home on the BART with Marcus Peters, and they were just like kicking it with the people on the train. Did you also see that after that Marshawn Lynch was in the crowd just hanging out in the stands with a mask on? And I feel like they must have had to recognize him as being Marshawn Lynch when he was there with the mask on. Because, I feel like anybody else in that bad boy walking around there with a mask going to get a talking to for 5-0. Hey, don't move. Don't move. She got that mask on for. Psh. Man, please. I don't know how cold it's got to get for me to feel like I can walk around with a mask and not get hemmed up. Anyway, it was all so crazy. And then we found out that Lynch was getting suspended and that he was going to appeal the suspension and that Marcus Peters, who plays for another team, was going to be there for the appeal. And part of this, my man Logan Murdoch at the Mercury News in San Jose wrote a really interesting story about the relationship between Marshawn Lynch and Marcus Peters and how they're basically like family, how they've known each other forever. And Marshawn Lynch really views him as a family member. Like when Marcus Peters got drafted in 2015, Marshawn Lynch was at the party, and that there's the widespread belief is that the reason why Marshawn Lynch ran out during that was to protect Peters as much as anything else. Even Donald Penn, who had no beef and plays for the Raiders, was like, nah, man, he knew the offensive linemen were crazy, and he knew his cousin was crazy, so he went out there to stop it before it got too crazy. Because, Shannon, don't forget, we had somebody call in one of those why I quit football stories, and the first thing he said was, now, Marcus Peters was a stay-ready all-star, right? Hey, Marshawn Lynch was trying to save everybody all at one time, and then my man Peter shows up for the appeal hearing. Like, I guess on his day off, he goes to try to get Marshawn Lynch out of that suspension. And my question for you, Shannon, in that appeal hearing, do you think the phrase town business was used?
I almost hope and guarantee it was.
I feel like the only way for them to explain their case involved using the phrase town business. That's the only way they can explain to people what it is. Like, hey, man, y'all got to understand, man, what we got here is just town business, man. Y'all don't know about town business? All the thing about town business is, man, see, San Francisco, that's the city. You know what I'm saying? We from Oakland. Oakland, the town. And the town bigger than a football team, the town bigger than any rivalry, dog. So this was town business. And so I think you need to understand that town business is bigger than the NFL. How you going to suspend him when it was town business? Town business bigger than you. I feel like if he said that, there wouldn't have been no suspension. What about you?
I think folks have to realize that Marshawn plays for Oakland. And the Raiders just so happen to be the team that's in Oakland.
Yes.
He plays for Oakland.
Marshawn's like, bro, you don't remember the Raiders left? I ain't never going to leave. Also interesting about the appeal, apparently James Thrash heard the appeal, and if you want to play a fun game of where are they now, get a hand of the employee directory at the NFL offices, because apparently they hire every football player you forgot about. Every single one. Every single one. I don't know what the qualifications are. I don't know if you have to have a degree, whatever it is. But whenever it's one of these appeals or something like that comes up, I am reacquainted with some football player I thought I'd never talk about ever again. Although I had actually been talking about James Thrash that very day as I was trying to explain how bad the receivers were that Donovan McNabb had to work with in those early years in Philadelphia, where his number one receiver was James Thrash. Anybody want to guess what they used to call James Thrash? Yeah. That's what they used to call him. That's what it was. So, yeah, man, town business, man. Town business. Hold on. No. James Thrash is part of the catch committee? That committee that was trying to figure out what a catch was? What the hell do you know about what a catch is? Shannon, you ever seen James Thrash make a catch? Because I'm not sure I have.
I'm sure he made one with Washington that one time.
Oh, he did play for Washington, didn't he?
Yeah.
I feel like he's never made a catch in a game I watched. I even feel like I saw your man Todd Pinkston. You know what they used to call him?
No.
I bet you can figure it out.
He didn't catch it over the middle. I can guarantee that. If somebody that played with the Eagles and Madden at that time, I bet you Pinkston didn't catch that. I almost called him another name. I bet you he didn't catch it over the middle.
No.
I can almost guarantee that.
No. You. I mean, to be honest, though, would you?
Wow, my Madden really came out of me just now. Like,
yes.
It brought back all of these memories.
Because, man, the mobile quarterback, man, I don't know how it goes now on Madden, but if you had a quarterback that could move, man, Madden ain't have nothing for you. Nothing at all. So the Eagles were always cold. You get like a young McNabb and put him in a franchise, develop him, cultivate him, put him through your system and your own offseason program. Yeah. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Something else that happened with the NFL that I had meant to bring up, and I just completely forgot it that fast, and I always hate it when that happens. By the way, how do you think Marshawn Lynch goes spend this game while he's suspended? Are the Raiders playing at home? Because I feel like if the Raiders are playing at home, he's going to watch. Like, I can see him front row.
I know they play Buffalo. Let me check to see where they play.
Okay. Oh, it's at Buffalo, but Marshawn Lynch used to play in Buffalo. You think he wants to go back? I bet Marshawn Lynch wouldn't try to go back when the Seahawks had games against the Bills. He was like, that part of my life is over, cuz I'm done with that. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, woo, buddy, how bad are things with the Phoenix Suns? We'll ask Chris Maddox on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He covers the NBA at Yahoo Sports. His name is Chris Maddox. Chris, what in the world is going on in Phoenix, man?
Well, I mean, that's been a situation that you wouldn't consider functional for the better part of a year now. You trace it back to the middle of last season when they started shutting guys down. And, both publicly and privately, Earl Watson created a divide within that organization. Publicly did it in early March when he said that management was basically dictating the rotations, and privately, as I reported early in the week, that he was telling players that he wasn't responsible for the rotations. That created really a toxic atmosphere that that really just kind of manifested itself in that opener, getting beat by 48 and continued with a team that's just lifeless. I mean, the Suns, they lack credibility right now. They need to do something significant to shake up that organization because right now, they're a laughingstock.
Well, the first question on that one is, was management dictating the rotations?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Of course, management said, sit down Tyson Chandler, sit down Eric Bledsoe, sit down Brandon Knight. But if you're a coach that wants to have a functional relationship with your boss, there are ways to answer those questions publicly, and there are ways to deal with it privately. Publicly, you can say, hey, we want to get a good look at our young players. Devin Booker needs minutes. Alex Len needs minutes. Whoever it is needs minutes. And Earl Watson chose not to do that. And privately, he seemed content to sort of foster a negative relationship between players and upper management. And look, you can bite the hand and feed you all you want, but eventually that hand is going to grab back. And that's kind of what happened with Robert Sarver, the owner, and Ryan McDonough, GM.
All right, we are talking to Chris Mannix of Yahoo Sports here on The Right Time. Now, Eric Bledsoe wants out. The Suns seem to be saying, fine, you can go. But how long do you think it'll take him to find a trade partner?
I don't expect him to take it more than a couple of days. They've engaged several teams on this front. And I think from everything I've been hearing, I think Denver could lurch to the front of the pack pretty quickly because of the assets that the Nuggets could potentially offer. I mean, the Nuggets have been kind of soured on Emmanuel Mudiay over the last year. His shot has not been consistent. He's been turnover prone. I don't know that he reinvents himself in Phoenix, but that's the kind of young piece that the Suns could potentially add to their mix and maybe see what he's got. Maybe see if they can restore him a little bit. Tim Conley, the GM with the Nuggets, his brother works as an executive with Phoenix. There's a relationship there. I can see a deal between Denver and Phoenix being worked out, but there's going to be teams out there, Bomani, that are looking at trying to fleece this Suns team, trying to get Bledsoe for 60, 70 cents on the dollar because they know that they have to move him. That could cause this thing to be dragged out for a little bit longer.
Now, how good is Eric Bledsoe at this point? Because I feel like most people, if they're being honest, it's Phoenix and they play in one of those time zones. They haven't really been watching.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he's pretty good. I mean, he's probably on the second tier of NBA point guards with still the potential, 27 years old, in the right situation, the potential to leap up into that first tier. But, there are teams out there that have watched that situation from afar, that see the tweet, that just don't want anything to do with it. Teams with young players, they just don't see the upside in adding a player like Eric Bledsoe to the mix. Throw in the fact that he makes a lot of money, and you're going to have to find a way to make salaries work to bring him on board, and it gets even more tricky. The Nuggets, again, Mudiay is one piece. Kenneth Faried makes a lot of money. They could throw him into the mix and clear up some of that log jam that they have in the front court. They've been trying to build the team around Nikola Jokic for years, or at least 2 years, and Faried doesn't really fit into that type of a role. So, again, it just makes a lot of sense for the Nuggets to get in the mix and make a deal like that.
All right, on to Chris Mannix of Yahoo Sports here on The Right Time. Now, were you surprised that Eric Bledsoe would be the guy to act as such and try to get his way out of there as he did?
Not really. You heard rumblings of dissatisfaction from Bledsoe dating back to last season. And there have been, I don't know if you'd call them trade talks necessarily, but the Suns have made it clear that he was available. And you could have had a conversation with them about him for months now. That was as brazen as I've seen. And, hair salon now eclipses, Cousins. I was at the sauna, or wherever he said, the spa, when he tweeted out his snake in the grass thing about George Karl. That was pretty overt. I haven't seen something like that happen, but you knew for a while that Eric Bledsoe was looking for a way out of Phoenix, just like you knew that the Suns, who clearly are committed to a youth movement there with Jackson and with Booker and even with Dragon Bender, who they're still pretty high on. They're a team that is built two ways. One is with youth, the other is with guys like Bledsoe and Tyson Chandler. They had to make moves, and Bledsoe might just be the first one.
All right, talking to Chris Mannix of Yahoo Sports here on The Right Time. Switching gears just a little bit, were you surprised to see Dwayne Wade go to the bench already in Cleveland?
Not really. I was out in Cleveland for a few days before the start of the season. And look, starting Dwayne Wade was as much a nod to LeBron James and the respect the team has for him and the respect LeBron has for Dwayne Wade as anything else. I think the Cavs, you never want to shake up your starting lineup. And J.R. Smith made it clear from the beginning he didn't like being demoted. It's just, Wade's been a starter his entire career. And giving him the the respect of reinserting him in there was I think the Cavs' way of just showing him that kind of respect. But it's good that Wade recognized early. I mean, that's a pretty selfless move by Dwayne. If he didn't say anything about this, I'm skeptical that they would have made a move this early in the season. But Dwayne Wade's been around winning teams. He's been around bad teams. He saw the way this team was going with their lack of shooting, lack of athleticism in that backcourt. This is a move that makes the Cavs better, at least in the short term.
Well, what do you think of him as a sixth man? Because to me it seems like if you got a guy that you can't trust to play a whole lot of minutes, then don't ask him to play a whole lot of minutes.
Yeah, but look, I actually like him a lot as a sixth man. And I talked to him briefly about this, about long-term his future as a sixth man. I mean, when guys get to Dwayne's age, they have to make a choice. You have to either, fight tooth and nail to be a starter and to hold on to that distinction as long as possible, like Allen Iverson did, or you can transition. You can become a bench guy and add 3 or 4 years onto his career. Look, I don't think Dwayne Wade is at this point capable of defending at high enough level to be a starter in this league. But with the second unit, he can still be, I think, a consistent 15-point offensive player. And look, you don't have to defend elite-level guys going up against reserves. So I think if Dwayne Wade really wants it, he can have 2-3 more years, extend his career that much longer by being a bench guy.
All right, talking to Chris Maddox, Yahoo Sports here on The Right Time. What have you thought about the Celtics as they try to figure out what to do without Gordon Hayward?
Well, it's trial and error, to be honest. I mean, it's Brad Stevens just basically throwing everybody out there. I mean, Abdel Nader, in the second game of the season was getting first player off the bench. That was the D-League MVP a year ago. I mean, they're trying a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, they went into this season with a pretty clear idea of how they wanted to play. They spent a lot of capital in practice time figuring out the best ways to make Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving play well together. Going through plays, certain things. Kyrie had told me a couple of days before the start of the season that he was basically giddy about some of the offensive sets that he and Hayward were going to run. Now with Hayward gone, you don't have to reboot the whole thing because a lot of the players are still there. But it's an entirely different way of playing when you're incorporating, a 20-year-old Jason Tatum or a 20-year-old Jaylen Brown, a 19-year-old Jason Tatum as consistent rotation players. It's going to take a few weeks or maybe even a couple of months for this team to really figure out what its identity is offensively. And during that time, I think they're really going to have some struggles, some ugly games, like, for example, you saw against Philadelphia where they really couldn't figure their offense out.
Do you have the Bucks as the second-best team in the East?
I'll be honest. I mean, I think the Bucks might be the best team in the East. I know that it's sacrilege to pick against Cleveland at this point, but going back to the preseason, I thought the Cavs, with their lack of athleticism in the backcourt, were going to struggle. They have up until this point, and if Isaiah Thomas doesn't come back, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. This Bucks team, I just got back from watching 3 games in Milwaukee, and Giannis is the real deal. Like, he is a legit top 5 MVP this season, hands down. He might win the award if the Bucks win enough games this year. And look, they just like how they play together. John Henson's playing well. Malcolm Brogdon's playing well. Chris Middleton's playing well. And I'll tell you, I watched Jabari Parker work out at practice and work out a little bit before games. He's still a few months away from coming back, but he looks sharp in the one-on-one drills that I saw him with the coaches. Every coach I talked to says he is well ahead of schedule with that team. When you're looking at potential mid-season acquisitions that can make a huge impact, Jabari Parker's it, whether it's in the starting lineup or coming off the bench. So unless Cleveland figures out their problems, I might make the Bucks the best team in the East with a real chance, honest to God, real chance of coming out of the conference this year.
Do you think they have enough shooting? Because they have the longest arm team I have ever seen, but my question for them has been about whether they got enough guys who can make shots.
No, it's the question that dogs them. It dogs Toronto to some degree. It dogs Cleveland. But maybe for the Bucks, it's more amplified. I mean, they rely on their bigs, a guy like Thon Maker, to make a three-point shot and stretch the defense. Certainly Chris Middleton is their guy offensively. He's got to make three-point shots, and Brogdon's got to make them when they're available to him. But the margin for error for them as a three-point shooting team is very slim. But look, watching Giannis, he sees openings, so much better this year than he has in years past. And he just goes. I mean, he just tormented Evan Turner for like the last 12 minutes of that Portland game. Did the same thing to Marvin Williams in that Milwaukee game. I mean, unless you send immediate double and triple teams at him, he's going to find a way to get to the rim. And because he's so long, he can score on anybody in this league.
All right, that is Chris Maddox. Check him out covering the NBA for Yahoo Sports. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
You got it anytime.
All right, now, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pencil Performance Line. Thanks to Chris Mannix of Yahoo Sports for joining us the last segment. Thanks to Richard Justice of MLB.com for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Thanks to Domonique Foxworth for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. Oh, that's right. Well, I just want to bring this up right fast because I've been meaning to bring it up all show and I couldn't remember. Who Josh Jackson think he fooling with that? I wouldn't make it a gun thing. Who do you think he fooling? Also, another observation. We are in a whole new generation of kids where when they do the gun thing, they don't put their thumb up because these young boys don't know nothing about revolvers. Anyway, 888-729-3776. All right, Shannon, what we miss out on today?
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. Now, if you haven't heard.
And just to add to that Josh Jackson story, he was fined by the Phoenix Suns $35,000 for the hand gesture.
Yeah, we can talk about that some more. Did he say what he was trying to do if it wasn't a gun?
I'll have to look.
Is he what was he tickling them? right. He getting up under their neck over there? Like what? How stupid does he think we are?
All right.
I can talk about this some more. Like I got all the time in the world for this. First of all, what are you doing? That's number one. Like, it's only the third game of the year. Kyrie out here telling people to his This dude out here acting like he's shooting people. Eric Bledsoe basically quitting his job over the internet. Like, why is everybody so tense already? Y'all just got there. But don't try. I wasn't really doing a gun thing. It's this stretch that I learned in yoga. Hot yoga. Like this hot lead. Never mind.
According to Jackson, he says that he wasn't doing a gun gesture. He said that the fan had been getting on him and saying some inappropriate things to him. So he said initially he was going to give him the middle finger, but then thought twice about it and did the whatever gesture.
Right. I was going to give him the middle finger. I'm sorry. I didn't think y'all would mind me doing the gun thing. Because he's right. It would have maybe been a bigger problem with the middle finger because he wasn't even like right by him and trying to be slick. Like he gave it to him with all the glory. But you got to tell me what you were doing. Fine. Instead of doing nothing with my fingers, I'm just going to pull my index finger in a manner remarkably similar to if I were pulling the trigger on a pistol.
All right, well, moving on. You good with Josh Jackson? You good?
I'm actually mad at myself that we didn't do the whole segment about the worst lie you ever told. We might break this back out tomorrow.
That's going to be a Twitter. That's a tease for our Twitter poll question tomorrow on the show. What's the worst lie you ever told? And what's the worst lie you ever got caught telling?
So, Shannon, that time I told that girl that I was Bomani's twin brother, Patrice. Is that the best lie or worst lie ever? Because it worked at least for a little while.
That's the story time with Bo tomorrow.
Yes! Wednesday!
Do we even have time for this? All right, well, earlier in the show, we don't have time for Carson. We do? Okay, cool. All right, early in the show, we talked about Carson Wentz.
We haven't even gotten to the old part.
So here's Bomani Jones, early today on the right time, talking about Carson Wentz.
I see why people went gaga over this dude. He absolutely looks the part. But, he looks the part in like a good way, right? He's big. He's strong, he's athletic, and I've seen him make dynamic plays, right? Like, it's not just simply he gets off the bus and you're like, ooh, first-round pick. He has a level of talent that I think is spectacular. Like, we're not talking about Blaine Gabbert here, for example, or simply looking the part. He's got it, man, and the Eagles, when they made that trade to get him, I was like, I don't know, because you remember everybody was telling us that none of these quarterbacks are going to be ready to play day one, that Wentz was this long-term project and everything else. I don't know what happened in between when people said that and right now, but the project doesn't look long-term. Like, it's not to say that he doesn't have room to improve, but this doesn't look like one of those things where it's like, okay, let's see what happens. This dude looks like the truth. He did that thing where he like a burrow or a prairie dog or something like that. Or burrow is a donkey. You know what I mean, though? It's like he burrowed under the ground and then popped up. You saw that play. I thought it was Frank Gore. Remember Frank Gore used to go in there low, and the next thing you know, like, dang, how Frank Gore come out the pile? This dude's a 6'5" quarterback, and he's doing that in the pocket. Like, they've got, at the very least, one thing they don't have to answer for in a draft for a very long time, which is what are we going to do about a quarterback. Meanwhile, Cleveland's going to be forced to answer all these questions, and I feel like the only place where Cleveland has to answer to me is not that you made the decision that you didn't want to take Wentz. I can see that. If you thought it was better to get the picks and wait for another quarterback to come around, I can see how you maybe decided to do that. But Shannon, the Browns apparently didn't think that Wentz would ever be a top 20 quarterback in the league, and I'm trying to figure out what league it is they've been watching.
All right, on the heels of Carson Wentz's performance last night, our Twitter poll today on the ESPN Radio Twitter account was, which is a better poll question? And the options were, who's the best QB in the NFC East, or who was the worst QB in the NFC East? And 66% of the folks out there said the better question was, who's the worst QB in the NFC East? So, Bo, who's the worst QB in the NFC East, Bo?
It's probably Eli Manning.
Oh,
but I'm not sure that, because I don't feel like if I put Kirk Cousins on the Giants would be any better. You know what I mean? But I can't say Kirk Cousins, because then they're going to say I'm hating. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this every weekday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Shannon Nuno Cat, thanks so much. Game 1 of the World Series, Astros-Dodgers, is coming up next.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.